All right, everyone. We have a special guest today, a friend of mine that I met at our GAC Run Club, probably a year and a half ago?
Yeah, it's been a little over a year and a half
A
now.
year and a half. Okay. And he's an entrepreneur. Um, he has been in the cosmetic space and he's now pivoting to a new industry, new business, still in beauty. And he actually came to the Run Club a few weeks ago. We started discussing the business, and I was like, man, this would be such a great discussion for everyone to hear. Anyone who's starting a business, anyone who is interested in starting a business, anyone who's interested in investing in a business, just what the process of questions that kind of go through and kind of share your challenges, share your wins so far, and see what the opportunity is. Like, what's the product market fit? All the types of questions that I discuss all the time. But I wanted to make it like an open discussion with you and me, and let the listeners kind of chime in on it.
Yeah.
So, give us a quick background on what you've been doing prior to this.
So currently I'm in the beauty industry, as you said, but in makeup,
Okay.
right? So, and obviously it's not a product that I really have a, attachment to, and I don't really wear it. So,
Yeah.
while in this industry for the past 4 or 5 years, I've obviously spotted some like white space, I guess you can call it. And I had a personal experience as well as a couple others that sort of influenced me to get into this that I'm in right now. I had some bad breakouts on my forehead, and asked my female cousin, like, "Yo, what do I do to get rid of this? I don't know anything about skincare. I don't know anything about these products." And so she took me to Ulta, and we walked around the aisles and couldn't really find anything. And then we asked the lady to help us, and she helped me get some things. And boom, within like 3 4 weeks, like all good, and my skin was looking bomb. So I was like, okay, there's obviously something here, but I had no idea what to do, and I had to, ring in a friend to try to help me. And while I was there, I started to notice that there was no products for men that really, like, nothing jumped out to me personally, right? And so I was like, okay, there's definitely something here. I started doing some research to see maybe if there's other brands out there that Ulta didn't have. And I realized that there was nothing that really spoke to me. And so it kind of influenced me to start getting into exploring men's skincare, men's personal care, and all that. And so that's where I started to just like, pass the idea around to some, friends and try to like ask, my other cousin, Rusty, who also deals with some of those issues. I asked him like what he does. He had no idea either. So I was like, okay, there's obviously this huge gap in skincare for men that it's not out there, that like we have no idea what the heck we're doing, and we don't know what products to get, and all the products out there were packaged, designed, and marketed towards women. And so that's where I got my
And I
influence from.
think when we first had that discussion, there's clearly an opportunity in men's skincare. And my initial gut reaction whenever I hear an idea like that, because when you say men's and you say skincare, it's such a massive space.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to be more niche.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be so focused on a certain group of people, because that way, when you're walking down the aisle, it literally says, hey, this is a skincare for basketball players over 6'5". Like, it literally has to be that
Yeah.
specific. So you kind of did your homework, and where'd you kind of end up at?
So where I came at was that there was no product out there that spoke to the likes of me, which is, like us, like the brown guys that were born here in the US. So we have very much the influence of these things into fashion, into, the culture, sort of like streetwear and all that. And everything out there was like Jack Black or Everyman Jack. And it's no diss to those companies, but that doesn't speak to me. The name Jack doesn't even exist in my family. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or anybody I even know. There's probably a few friends I have like that. So I started to realize, like, okay, that's a good niche. After you told me that, it kind of inspired me to think, like, all right, think niche, right? And so
What's your
that's
background so people can understand?
I'm Persian,
Okay.
so but I was born here in LA my
Yeah.
whole life, and so I have all different friends and everything, and so um, that's sort of where the inspiration came for the way that it went. And then, like, the branding and stuff is sort of tailored towards something that I would appreciate, and it's for the demographic age of mine and up, right? Like my age to about your age, actually. This is the demographic.
What's your age?
I'm 28, 29.
Okay. And you feel that the opportunity is a men's skincare brand targeting basically ethnic people, but predominantly brown skin ethnic people.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to necessarily be Persian or Middle Eastern, but
Yeah.
it's like you said, ethnic, right? So
Yeah.
we have special skin needs that not every, I guess, Caucasian person would deal with. You know,
Hmm.
like under eye stuff,
Hmm.
oilier skin, and so there's also like an actual need to address in the market, as well as like a branding need that's not out there, right? Because a lot of these skincare brands, I mean, the product and the formula is slightly tweaked here or there, but essentially they all do sort of the same thing. It's just about who they market it to and how they package it. So this, I guess, we have two opportunities, which is the branding of attracting the audience that's similar to what I'm into, and then also the issues that we deal with in terms of like breakouts and oily skin and the different treatments that we need to fix our skin.
So what was the first step you took? So you identified this was the opportunity. Now, did you start working on formula, name, packaging? What was it?
So the first step I did was I started buying a bunch of products
Hmm.
just to see what worked, what didn't work, because knowing how the industry works, like when I'm in makeup, is a lot of it is benchmarking. So you'll go and you'll find a lipstick that you like the formula and the color, and you'd send it to your factory and be like, all right, I like this shade. So, sort of match this shade, tweak the formula a little bit to make it cheaper or more expensive, depending on what your brand, like where your brand is in the market. And so I knew that I sort of had to start there. I did a bunch of research as well. Like I've created Excel sheets of all the different men competitors that I would potentially have, the benefits, what their formulas did, and their price point, the sizing, all this stuff. I just like was doing homework basically. You know what I mean? And then trying products myself, having my cousins try products, having my friends try them to see like which one do you guys like and which one do you not like and why.
Yeah.
From there, I started reaching out to different friends that I knew that were manufacturers. So they started helping me, like giving me private label stuff. And then I reached out to a chemist that I know and started working basically on formulas using the benchmarks of like, okay, I bought all these products. My favorite were these 5 for cleansers, these 5 for moisturizers, these for beard oil, these for serums. And I just said, like, sort of come up with something that's similar to this, but obviously we got to have our own marketing story. And
Yeah.
in this industry, the marketing story, of course, it's in like the branding, the logo, and all that, but it's also in the ingredient. That's where you have a separation thing. So, there's like the argan oil thing, right? So like people were building brands around argan oil.
What's argan oil?
Argan oil is like an oil that comes from Morocco that has benefits for your skin,
Got
right?
it.
And there's like coconut oil. That's a story, right? There's brands like,
Organic,
yeah,
vegan.
yeah,
Yeah.
but also within the ingredient too. So like squalene, which is good for anti-aging, there's a whole brand built around using squalene in every single ingredient. Now, most brands use that, but they just chose to pick that as like they're like throwing
Talking
it in your
point.
face,
Yeah.
There's like the charcoal mask people that use activated charcoal, which is like we drink juices here that have that too. So like you just got to pick something and sort of just like own that marketing story. And
Hmm.
every ingredient, every product has a marketing story, as they call it. Even in makeup, it's the same thing. There's a marketing story behind it.
So
Avocado oil, different anything.
so then you developed your formula now?
The formula is in development. My chemist gave me like 3 or 4 different ingredient lists for 4 different products. And he was like, approve them, not approve them. And I went through, I studied each one of their benefits, where I picked like, okay, where can I get a marketing story? And him and I sat together, we did a brainstorming session to try to come up with a marketing story, because he knows that guy. I'm very lucky to have found him because he was the CEO of a big company in Korea, a
Got it.
big skincare company, and now he lives here and he has a manufacturing thing, and he works with brands like me to get off the ground.
Amazing.
And so we sat down and we just brainstormed for a solid hour or two, and then he's like, all right, cool, like I kind of get the branding. I showed him my branding deck, which I skipped that step of telling you that I also started on the branding prior to even starting the ingredients, because
Yeah.
like it all, you got to do it all at once. So he's working on that now, and I should be having samples soon, which is like something that I'm really excited about. In this period of time, the 3 months that we've been talking, I've done a bunch of private labeling and looked at different products, and where I came to was like, all right, private labeling is good for certain items that I can get off the ground quickly.
And define private labeling for people that don't know what
So
that
private
means.
labeling is basically like there's a manufacturer out there that's been making these formulas for many years, and they just white label it, or they just, that you put it in your own packaging and they sell it.
Yeah.
So I don't own this formula. They own the formula. And I mean, of course, you can look at an ingredient list and see all the products, but formulas are all about the percentages. Like I could put coconut oil in a product, but if it's 1%, it's not as effective as if it's 20%, right? So the percentages really make the formula, and that private labeling person's not going to tell me what percentages they are, because I could just walk over to a factory and say, here's this product, here's the percentages, make this for me,
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and that's even part of my question is like, should I just go private label in the beginning? Because the problem with going down this route that I'm going is that the formula is going to take, a couple of weeks. Like at this point, it's been 2-3 weeks to develop, but then it's got to go into testing, and the testing is the microbiome and the fact that to make sure that it could survive in the product container that I'm providing it in.
How long is that going to take?
So in total, like from the time that me and the chemist started till potential launch, if everything works out accordingly, is 5 to 6 months. And that's the biggest issue in this industry alone, with whether it's makeup or whatever, is the lead times are long and the MOQs are high. Because
is there a minimum on the formula?
Yes, it's 3,000 MOQ, minimum order quantity per product.
And what is the packaging minimum quantity?
That one's higher, especially because you're going to China, and if you go plastic, it's anywhere from 5 to 10,000.
Got it. So where do you sit today? Like, so let's isolate these issues. So you have the formulation kind of challenge you're working through, which could take up to 6 months. You have a packaging minimum. How are you financing this right now?
All by myself.
All by yourself. Have you thought about raising money?
Yes, and that's a question that I was going to ask you as well. So.
Okay. What's the question?
Should I raise or should I self-fund,
So I think it comes down...
Or bootstrap, I should say, not self-fund. Like bootstrap or raise,
Yeah, look, I think you have to think about it in many different ways. One is, if you have the funds to prove concept, you should always do that, because the fundraising process will be a lot easier. So if you have enough money to do an original formula, get the packaging, really interesting packaging, maybe it's not the exact package you want, but it allows you to test your concept, and you're able to successfully launch the product and actually get sales in a channel, whether it's on your website, whether it's on Amazon, whether it's with a retailer, you have now data to go and sell to an investor.
Right.
The flip side of it is, the moment you have data, then you're kind of exposed. You're open kimono, like everyone knows, oh, this shit's not going to be that big, or he already has these challenges. So that's, sometimes it's almost better to raise when there's no data. Because the moment there is data, then they can do a formula and be like, oh, this guy is going to do this much business. How does he even, it's almost, when it's the idea on a napkin, you can sell that dream a little bit better. So those are the two kind of pros and cons of raising. If you physically cannot get it off the ground, then you're going to have to raise money.
Right.
The other challenge with raising money is how long is that going to take? If you feel like, if I don't launch this in the next year, this idea is over, then how much time do you want to dedicate to fundraising? Because even if you told me today, I have 5 people interested, they'll give me 200 grand each, and I can, with $1 million, I feel good about what I'm ready to launch. If you thought you could close those people in a month, I would say go raise the money.
Yeah. Like
raise it. There's no doubt you're going to need money. It's like the faster you can make it happen, it'd be better. The problem is that the time that you could potentially waste raising money could take 6 months. It could take 1 year to raise money.
Right.
I know people that have been trying to raise money for businesses for years. They still haven't done it.
Yeah.
And so I guess I would pose to you is like, do you have a group of people interested in investing today?
Well, that I haven't even started to reach out.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of working on my investor pitch deck.
Yeah.
That question that you had asked me about, like, is it going to take you 6 months or take 2 months? I kind of was bouncing around in my head. And I'm like, well, if I can raise that 1 million in 6 months, that's just about the amount of time that it's going to take for these formulas to be developed. So it would almost be perfect timing, because then I could place the order right there and go into production. But the other issue is that it's kind of like a very vicious industry in the sense that there's a lot of big money in it, right? Like the four closest competitors I have raised 4 million, 2 million, $1 million seed rounds, like
Yeah.
not even like Series A, right?
Yeah.
They went back and got Series A like 6 million or 10 million. So it's a big money industry, and there's not a lot of players in there because it's like there's a lot of barriers to entry.
Yeah.
It's like you got to have the know-how of the whole product and the industry, and just going through the process takes a while, right?
Yeah.
While like if compared to like if I wanted to start a streetwear line, it's low MOQs. Like
Yeah.
it's just like you can just try anything, throw things on the wall, and if it sticks, it sticks, and you just keep hitting that.
That's why I think one of the things that you should, let's say you go the route of self-financing to launch, I would only launch one product
Yes.
because it's so much easier to convince people that you're great at one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, if you hit one home run with one product, one, fundraising will be easier. Two, it's so much easier to control from a manufacturing standpoint,
Yep.
easier to scale. So, I mean, like, I think that focus, and you'll have to decide on what that product is that you feel is unique, that you could tell a unique story from.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I do agree you should have your own formula if you can stomach the 6 months to do it, because I think you need to tell a unique product story.
Mm-hmm.
But the challenge is that this business is all about marketing.
Yeah.
Like
Completely.
health, wellness, beauty. That's why you like what do you project your D2C gross margin to be if you hit all the MOQs?
It's actually pretty high gross margin. Usually it's anywhere from 80 to 90%.
So you have
And
a
it's all marketing is where that, you don't see that at the bottom line. You know what I
no,
mean?
of
It gets
course.
wiped away from all the marketing spend. So.
Exactly. So ultimately, you need to spend serious cash
Mm-hmm.
to acquire a customer. So if you're playing the digital social media game, then the route is like spend ads and hope that that ad dollar is less than the average order value, and
Right.
that there's some margin after you spend that money.
Right.
I think uh, it's because it's such like a. Are you able to leverage any of your current infrastructure on your current business?
Yeah, so that's the good thing, is that there is some things in place that I can use and share resources. But back to like the private label versus my own formulas. One way that I figured that I can work around that is because the idea that I had was to put out a system, which was like a 3 product system that was like every man's skincare routine, the basic routine, right? So my product wasn't just one product; it was these 3 products that like you use one in the morning, one in the evening, and one of them both morning and evening. And so I felt like that whole concept of the routine was like a big part of the, like you buy this kit almost,
Yeah.
right? And it's like a subscription where it comes to you every 3 months, or however the sizing that I pick, how long it's going to last. So what I could do from now till getting that is by putting out a product like a face mask, which every guy has either used, or it's like very easy for them to sort of understand, like, oh, I just put this on once a week. It's not something you have to do every day.
Yeah.
And sort of like get that like into their hands and start like building a brand around it. Because my issue that I was asking you is like, without a product, how do I start marketing and building a community?
Yeah.
Because I don't have anything to be like, here, this is it, try it, right?
Yeah.
So I found some people that can make me a mask and put it in like a little container, and that's like 1 month, and it's already out there. The formula's already out there, private label basically. So it's something that I could just start with, and I can afford to self-fund myself and use that as like sort of like a proof of concept before I get the real product that I want out there. And maybe I can use that time to raise some money and say like, look, I need the money to get this system out, and it'll work.
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea, as long as you can tell the face mask story specifically for this demographic.
Yes.
Like if there was ads with a bunch of brown people in it, like then it'd be like unique,
Yeah.
because I think if the formula speaks to their skin tone and you
Mhm.
can comfortably, confidently tell that story, it's a no-brainer to take this as like a first step.
Right.
Because I haven't seen, I mean, I'm on social media, I haven't seen a face mask heavily targeted to men.
Mhm.
So maybe that in itself is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, and given that you are in cosmetics and beauty, just got me thinking,
Mhm.
why are you going in the men's space? Why don't you go in the women's space? You know the women's space is way bigger.
Yes, it's way bigger, but it's also way more saturated.
Yeah.
And the the numbers and all the research from the like those big data companies are showing that men's is on a huge incline by 2020.
Yeah.
So I just figured it's something that I could stand behind. I could stand, I use this product and I could be like sort of like a face of like this new generation of skincare products,
Got
right?
it.
And so I can go out there and fight the big fish in the women's space, but the competition in the men's space isn't as big as that. And the money that is in the women's is way bigger right now, right?
Yeah.
So me competing there is similar to what I'm dealing with the makeup is like you're just like a small fish in this huge pond as opposed to like sort of like an empty space in this smaller pond that
And what about in terms of, I'm gonna jump all over there. I want to rifle out a couple more questions.
yeah.
Price point.
So I don't like cheap products, but I also don't like super expensive products. Like there's a brand Barbara Sturm that makes like a $300 moisturizer. Like
Yeah, I mean,
you're
no one's
not
buying
like
that shit.
it doesn't even if you're super rich, yeah, sure, but like how many are you gonna sell,
Yeah.
right? But in the space where I see like like those cheap drugstore brands, like I don't want to put that stuff on my face myself.
Yeah.
So I would use like an Aesop, right? And that's still a little bit too expensive for the average person. So I'm trying to find a price point that's a little bit lower than them, but also higher than the regular one. So it's supposed to be like sort of a luxury product, which is why my demographic is also older because they
Yeah.
have more money to spend on this. And it's like an anti-aging sort of marketing angle, which, my age and up is like facing the aging issue.
I love anti-aging.
Yes, exactly.
What about in terms of um, what do you think you have to do to raise money? Like, if you were to go out and pitch this today, like, do you think you need a proof of concept? Do you think the opportunity is big enough where like you went to the right investor? They're just like, oh, like, what's your experience there?
So, because I haven't actually gone out and pitched to many people about this yet, I don't know what I'm going to get in response. It kind of gets me excited when I see these other brands that just started last year
Hmm.
and they were like, one of them that goes after like the middle America type guy, it raised $1 million. And then another one that sort of has a similar sort of like system model raised like 4 million seed rounds. So I'm like,
Okay.
okay, like there's obviously people that are willing to invest and there's definitely VCs that have invested in beauty before in probably in the women's side or in like a gender neutral or maybe like a different sort of concept that understand the market and see that this is the new white space and maybe they'll be willing to give it to me on like a because I have the experience in the industry and because I've created this whole branding stuff, maybe that would sell it alone. And if it doesn't, then I hit the drawing board again and I'm not putting everything on pause just to see what investors tell me. I'm still chugging forward because my approach to everything is like I just approach it as if I already have the money
Yeah.
and I just assume the money will come. Like, and if it doesn't, then I'll figure something else out. Like
Yeah, of
doesn't.
course. Well, what's your distribution strategy?
So I'm gonna start D2C and through the website and Amazon
Yeah.
because I see that Amazon, like when I use the tools that everyone has, the men's search is trending like
Yeah.
higher and higher. So that's definitely somewhere where customers like when they want to first get introduced to a brand, me personally, like I will go if they have the product on Amazon, I'm like, all right, cool, I'll try it there because I can return it quickly, it'll be here in a few days. And my approach as a business is I never put all my products on Amazon. I just put like some of the good ones and then they'll come to my website and buy the other stuff.
Yeah, and I think Amazon is the right play for this category. This is where people buy this stuff.
Yes.
They want the convenience, they want the trust of the shipping
Exactly.
and customer service. If something doesn't work out, they can return it.
Exactly.
I agree. Like, I mean, I would almost treat your website as just a discovery and content play,
Mhm.
and the distribution focus it on Amazon.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters to be selling it on your own website.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to, but it's so much easier to drive traffic.
Yeah. And
Um,
obviously like getting into a store or retailer would be great, but I've dealt with retailers and they can crush you,
Yeah.
that they just want, percentages off here and there. And as a guy, like I don't really like going into an Ulta to look for stuff. I go in there personally because I do market research in there. But if I didn't have to and I didn't work in this industry, I would never step foot into Ulta or Sephora.
Yeah.
But what I do find cool and what I do go into is like, for example, like the fragrance I use, Le Labo, or like the other products I use at Aesop. Like I actually like to go to those stores. They're down the street from me because the experience is a little different. You get the brand experience when you go there. So part of my strategy for next year is to open a pop-up shop like on Melrose, you know,
Yeah.
because that experience, like Glossier, like they probably do all their business online, but they have this cool store and there's always a line outside.
Yeah.
They made it cool, so they got to do, you know, they got customers to walk in. That's what I'm gonna do, you know, and just make it cool and make it an experience. Like you come in, you sit down, you have a barber trim your beard, and you get like a facial. Like, you know, we can get the cryo guys to do a little cryo facial after, and you
Yeah.
can just chill, you know, and it's just like a place to hang out, and you fully get immersed in the brand. But that's not going to be like the bulk of my sales, you know.
Yeah.
Amazon is where I'm going to make the money, you know, or the website.
And okay, so I think one of my last questions will be around marketing.
Hmm.
So, how do you? It's a very competitive market.
Yeah.
Digital marketing is more expensive than ever.
Yeah.
How do you plan to market this?
So amongst all the things that you can do, the biggest thing that I see that's missing in terms of on the content side is education. I think men don't have the education on these products and how to use it, when to use it, and all those different things. So I would want my content play to be pretty education focused, and hope that with SEO and things like that, when people are searching like what type of skincare routine to have, like mine will start trending up. There's obviously other ways that I plan on doing it. I have connections with different like subscription boxes, and in my other business, I've seen huge spike in just retention and customer growth just by doing the subscription boxes. Like 500,000 people get your product, they get to try it.
Yeah.
Because that the number one reason someone's going to use your product is referral. Like
Yeah.
if I told you try this for this, you'd probably try it out. And then the second one is if they just get a sample and
Yeah.
then they're like, okay, I like it, and they go back and buy it. So those two things, you know, obviously word of mouth, and then the subscription box is another good way to do it.
Got it. What else?
Giveaways, influencers.
Yeah.
So I got to get people like you know, famous influencer
Yeah.
that matches the sort of
Demo.
the demo
Yeah.
is like that's a perfect way to do it. And getting like, you know, from the tiers below you to your tier, and then like a couple super mega ones. Especially like if I can get a mega one to be a spokesperson, you know, like you said, like just throw them product, give them a slice of sales or whatever, and just
Yeah.
like have them be the spokesperson. And they might be down because they'll see that this product relates to them and it's for them, and
Yeah.
there's nothing else out there for them, you know.
Absolutely. So what else? What other questions do you have?
I guess, you know, let's say I'm already there, I have my product. How do I get from that first 0 to 100K in sales? Because that's the hardest part, I
Yeah,
think.
I think that's where you have to be like very, very clever. So the ways you can be clever is creating a very shareable piece of content. So what can you tell in a picture or a 15-second video
Mm-hmm.
that's going to make me be like, holy shit? And then seeding the product and just getting in the hands of people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that first 100K is going to be fucking hard.
Yeah.
It is really, really hard. It's so much easier to get the second 100K because you'll have momentum,
Mm-hmm.
but you're gonna have to fight and crawl for every single dollar,
Yeah.
and like literally DM people and be like, "I'll sell you buy one get one free." It's like whatever you have to do. Like when I launch a brand, it's like so aggressive. Like
Right.
we're launching a new shoe next week, and I'm sending 50 packages, all cleverly written out little things, and I'm literally asking them, "Please, these are my friends. Please post this on your social media." And I think you're gonna have to kind of beg and steal every customer
Yeah.
you have to get.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I guess so. Going on the marketing topic, there's all these different forms and channels, and or I guess you could say franchises of content. What do you recommend that I put the most effort to? Because I'm a one-man show, right? So do I launch a podcast? Do I start a blog? Do I make YouTube videos? Do I make a cool Instagram feed? Like what? Or like obviously you got to kind of do a little bit of everything, but where should my main focus be?
So your challenge is men are not searching for skincare routine,
Probably not.
right? So social media to me, unless it's influencers talking about it, like if you're gonna create content, you're better off going to a guy that is influential with men
Mm-hmm.
and creating content within them. Like for example, we use a guy in fashion called Teaching Men's Fashion.
Right.
He's in the fashion space, but there are cosmetic versions of people
Yeah.
like him.
Yeah.
Those people will be better to create content with,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll live on YouTube and it'll live forever. I definitely think YouTube's the place, but like you creating original content on your own YouTube channel, I just don't think people are going to stumble on that searching for that.
Right.
It's not like in women's hair care or women's cosmetics where like there's a clear interest
Search for it, yeah.
search for that. So I think like I would go to the biggest YouTubers in the space and figure out what that's going to take to get them to feature the product.
Okay.
Second, I think physical activations.
Yes.
Like this is not where is your customer? They live in LA, they live in San Francisco, and New York, and maybe Chicago, right?
Yes.
That's predominantly where your customer lives.
Yes.
And I would say LA is by far the biggest opportunity.
Yeah.
You know where all the Persians and Indians hang out in LA?
Yeah.
You know, and
Beverly
Latinos.
Hills.
Yeah, I mean, like you literally like if they're not on Melrose, go to the street they're on.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And literally open up next to the kebab restaurant, a pop-up, and be like, speak their language and speak what you need to go where they are and physically have them try it on. Like if there's like you know, like, you know, isn't during the holidays every Persian person goes to Vegas?
Yeah.
Like literally have a booth at the MGM Grand where there's like 10,000 Persian people. Like you just need to go to them. Like, like you can't just assume, oh, they're gonna come to my trendy little space in West Hollywood. Like wherever they are, you need to be.
Right.
If your customer is there and you go with your friends, with your like high energy, and be like, this is what I'm doing, this is for the community, blah, 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 blah. That's going to resonate with them. So I think it's a lot of physical activations.
Yes.
Because
maybe collabing with other brands. And
stuff.
And
just anyone else who's already speaking to that audience, just have those people be your collaborative partners. Because this is so niche that like if you get 100 local customers, the lifetime value should be life.
Yes.
They should be using this product for the rest of their life.
Yes.
So you should be focused on getting 100 customers locally. Don't worry about trying to get everyone on the internet. 100, figure out how do I literally know the first 100 people and are they buying product from me every 3 months? If you do that, then it's easy to branch to 1,000, then branch to 10,000 because those 100 people will be your evangelists. Like literally DM them like, how's your skin feeling?
Yeah.
You know, like build that relationship because I think a lot of that's going to have to come from you because like when people wear my shoes and they get a job or they wear our running and they lost 10 pounds, they're so sold on the brand because there's an emotional connection. Like we've improved their life.
Improved their life. And that's the mantra of my brand is like self-improvement, right? Because that's what I believe in too, which is why I come to Run Club and do all the other activities that I do is just like I'm on a constant mission to improve myself mentally, physically, you know, all that stuff. So that's what I want the brand to, you know, aside from like this is a skincare product or a personal care product, the brand messaging is like just trying to push guys to improve themselves.
Yeah, and like do your ads in fucking Farsi.
Dude, I don't even know how to read that.
Yeah, I mean, figure it out. Like, well, I'm just saying, like, but then imagine if you're a Persian person, all of a sudden you see a Farsi ad, you'll just be like, oh, they're actually speaking to me.
Yeah,
just straight up. It's
That's
like
true.
I was talking to you know, a friend of mine who has business in the Latin space. He's like, because I'm Latin, I tend to, if there's a Latin background or Latin flair to it, I tend to gravitate toward that.
Yeah.
So people now have the world is so fragmented. If there's some element of it that speaks to you, you tend to go in that direction.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if it's go to a Spanish person and have them speak in Spanish. You could go to a Indian person and have them speak it. Like literally just do this like, you know, this is for this type of person.
Right.
So anyone who identifies as like brown is wearing your product or using your product becomes a super interesting marketing story in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Cool.
All right, well, let's check in, you know, in a few months when you launch. What is your Instagram handle?
So mine is _ Ash Kahn _ ASHKAHN. The brand is Kahn Skin, @Kahn Skin, KAHN Skin.
Okay. So reach out to him if you have any questions, you have any thoughts, because I think it'll be interesting. If you're in the industry, you guys should connect. And maybe if you want to give him money, give him money.
Yeah. I take all sorts of payment.
Bitcoin,
PayPal, Bitcoin,
Venmo.
Definitely some Bitcoin.
Cash App.
Yeah, Cash App. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Cool.